seeing clearly, choosing freely, responding with love. Welcome to our podcast, The Art of Discernment, with Dr. Gilda Dallas.
Thank you for being here. This episode, which precedes the podcast's 7 seasons, aims to introduce myself and the origins of the journey we are about to take together. But this 7-season series did not stem from a recent idea about developing discernment in the age of artificial intelligence. It grew out of a question I asked myself over 30 years ago, in a context very different from what one might imagine, and that is where I would like to begin. I began my professional career designing complex systems architectures in the world of IBM and its AS400 platforms. And it was precisely there, designing logic and algorithms for complex systems, that I first encountered a question which at the time did not yet have a name. And that is, what conditions must be present in a system, whether human or artificial, for it to distinguish what is correct from what merely appears to be so. That question stayed with me and was the reason I left systems engineering to delve into the world of philosophy and theology, where I found the language that allowed me to formulate this question with more precision. On that fascinating journey through the worlds of philosophy and theology, I identified something that for me was more than just a theoretical problem. It was a contradiction I could not ignore, one that later became glaringly obvious when I ventured into the world of education, where I saw how so many times, constantly, we ask children to be good, without first providing the conditions that would allow them to even grasp the meaning of goodness, empathy, compassion, and so on. Likewise, today, in the age of artificial intelligence, we ask algorithmic systems or their designers to make sound judgments without having provided a framework capable of discerning realities that lie beyond human intelligence. In both cases, the fundamental error is the same: demanding a response without first cultivating the capacity to perceive the very thing one is being asked to respond to. The answer to this question, arrived after 2 decades of research, is the design of EUDE Pedagogy. This pedagogy focuses on developing the preconditions for the development of ethical and moral discernment. EUDE does not operate on the premise that human transformation occurs primarily through moral instruction, by teaching rules or repeating principles, or through a normativistic ethics. Instead, it starts from the premise that such transformation genuinely occurs through the cultivation of preconditions such as perception, one's way of seeing, mental discipline, the identification of the various realities that continuously permeate the human being, referred to in EUDE as objects of attention, and the accompaniment of repeated experience that resonate with the presence and absence of love, truth, and beauty, and the respective consequences. That is why I say that EUDE, rather than being a pedagogy in the conventional sense, is a mystagogical. It does not seek to transmit information about the good, but rather to initiate the person gradually into the experience of perceiving and inhabiting it. And I want to be precise about a point I consider central. What is achieved, what these preconditions are developed, is no greater intelligence, nor is it, for that matter, greater critical thinking. It is ethical and moral discernment, what we at EUDE call human or enlightenment discernment, the capacity to clearly perceive the good in a concrete situation and to respond to it through free and responsible decision-making. In a nutshell, EUDE cultivates the human conditions so that the person can learn to see with greater clarity and respond with greater freedom to the good that becomes visible to them. The purpose of this podcast is specific. It is not to persuade anyone of anything, nor to offer a quick fix for feeling better. It is to share in a rigorous yet accessible way the framework we have developed at EUDE Global, and to make it available to any individual educator or institution that might find it useful. My aspiration for EUDE Global, the foundation created for this purpose, is clear. For EUDE's pedagogical principles to become a leading voice in human discernment at this era defined by artificial intelligence. This series is built upon more than 2 decades of research, reflection, and work with individuals and institutions. I'm not asking you to simply accept what I say. I invite you through this podcast to walk this path with me, to observe, to ask questions, to put every idea to the test, and to discover for yourself whether learning to look also changes the way you make choices. In the next episode, we will begin Season 1 by addressing the following question: what does it mean to learn to look? Thanks for being here. I am Dr. Hilda Darlas, and this is EUDE, the Art of Discernment.